Great morning. Rise, shine, give God the glory, glory, rise, shine, give God the glory, glory, rise, shine, give God the glory, glory, children of the Lord. That's what my mom used to say to her 6 kids, but I want to tell you what the real song says. Rise, shine, give God the glory, glory, rise, shine, give God the glory, glory, rise, shine. Give God the glory, glory, soldiers of the Lord. Yes, I'm Edwina B, Miss Cuckoo for Cocoa Pops, as you can see. Well, welcome to our morning conversation as we embarked on the AA Daily Reflections for today, and it's called The Key is Willingness. But before we do that, we want to thank God for waking us up this morning, choosing us to have the breath of his life and love to come through us, right? We inhale this love and we exhale its love. So that means I need to calm down because I'm hyped, right? For the Lord. I ain't on no drugs now, okay? But I'm on a natural high because I was chosen. And so one of the reasons I was chosen is because I'm sitting here before you today as cuckoo for Cocoa Pops as I am, but I love me today and my God loves me too. Donald Lawrence says we are not a natural being having a spiritual experience. We are a spiritual being living and walking this natural experience here on earth, and it's called life. All right. So I want to dedicate this song, my testimonial song this morning, to my mother and to the mothers of the world who has prayed for their children. My mom had 6 of us. 4 of us were addicted to drugs at one time. And listen, we nearly killed our mother. But out of the 4, I was the worst, right? Deemed the most smartest of the 6 kids. But why did I have to be the worst? I tell you, because God had a plan for me. So this song is dedicated to my mother. Her birthday is March the 23rd. And for the month of March, she always celebrated her birthday the entire month. So if I remember, I will dedicate something to her or mention her in one way, shape, form, or fashion. But my mother prayed for me. And so what I want to share with you is a song by the sensational Williams Brothers, and it's called Mama Prayed for Me. Wait a minute, y'all. Wait a minute. Listen, I tell you, I'm cooking for Cocoa Pops. I see my mother sitting over there on the floor, right? Peeping up and say, "You better get me off this floor, girl," and show them who you talking about. All right, so I'm gonna wrap this around me, and let's see. Let me see. Right. So I'll just wrap it around me, okay? So listen to these words, all right? All right. I remember when I was just a child, sitting on my mom's knee. Mama told me all about the Bible, so that I might be free. She told me when I was very young, this old way Go away, Mama, pray night and day. You hear us say, Lord, take care of my children. Don't let them go astray. Oh, she's soft down on her knees, crying, Lord, take care of my children, please. Yeah. Brother, mine, early in the morning, I know. My mama prayed for me. She prayed for all her 6 children, but I know she prayed for me. So, welcome again to the morning conversation of the Free to Hope. From recovery, emerge enlightened, emerge empowered, emerge enthusiastic, right? Be set free to give hope to others, help others prosper equally, right? So I have relaunched my Free to Hope platform, Zoom right now, but I'm hoping to get called to be your keynote speaker, your transformational speaker, your spiritual coach, or your spiritual consultant. Why? Because God prepared me from underneath a parked car on February the 22nd of 1990. Yes, he did. Underneath a parked car? Yes, yes, yes. Getting high with my stepson, doing all kinds of sexual favors for him. Under the influence, we transformed. He transformed into a violent person. I transformed into a person who was afraid for her life. And so after everything was said and done, he inflicted a punch in my face. And 3 o'clock in the morning, I started running down the streets of Mount Airy, Philadelphia, right? And so I got a flashback from my past when I would go underneath the bed when I was afraid. And I said, wow, I see these cars. If I just get underneath the parked car, he can't get to me. There I was, weighing only 90 pounds, dark circles around my eyes, hair all sunken and matted. I had few teeth, right? And I had such self-loathing. I had guilt. I had remorse. I was devastated. And underneath that parked car, my face was literally on the ground. The flashback said, Weena, how are you at the age of 34 underneath a parked car? Class vice president, co-captain of the cheerleader team, right? Wanted to be a model, an actress, a phys ed teacher, right? Voted one of the ones to most likely to succeed. Your family deemed you the smartest out of 6 kids. Why are you underneath this parked car? My children looked up to me, admired me, respected me for a little while. But then the ugly side of addiction came, and it was a progression. Things were starting to happen. I started to change. My attitude, ideas, and behaviors was focused on getting high, getting high, getting high. And my family thought something was wrong with me. My kids ashamed and embarrassed by me, right? And as a alcoholic and drug addict and a prostitute, I remember when I was 23 years old, got pregnant as a prostitute, and I was so ashamed that I didn't want the world to know, number one, I was pregnant, and number two, who the daddy was. And I took life. I had an abortion. I considered that murder. And I'm telling y'all, I had vowed never, ever, ever to do that. But here, I am catering to my humanness, right? My pride, my ego, right? And I took life. So I said, then if anything happens to me or whatever happens to me, I deserve. And the addiction showed its ugly side by the rapes, the beat ups, setting people up, right? Getting set up, robbing dead bodies, stepping over dead bodies, seeing bodies stacked up in the basement. Right? The self-loathing, the hatred, the disgrace. Yeah, being passed around like a bucket, called all kinds of names, right? Hiding from my children behind the bushes because I didn't want them to see me. And those flashbacks just overwhelmed me. And somewhere deep inside that I did not know existed, I cried out these words: whoever they say you are, take me out this life now or show me a better way. I don't want to live one more second of this vicious cycle. So whoever they say you are, please take me out this life or show me a better way. I was taught you was a punishing God, and my mom said that when you was bad coming out the womb, And so we had to be careful of what we say to our children. But me crying out those words was my knee-bowing experience, where I cried out and confessed with my tongue, whoever they say you are, take me out or show me a better way. He didn't zap me out, didn't take me out, and instead he placed me on a road to recovery, but spiritual in nature. So on February the 23rd of 1990 was my first day in recovery, and I haven't looked back since. So last month we celebrated 33 years, and it was one day at a time, using the Alcoholics Anonymous spiritual principles, right? Spiritual traditions, steps, concepts, and among a spiritual fellowship. And so I've stayed connected, will always stay connected. Why? Because of what my life has benefited from surrendering. I surrender all, and I did. All right. So I do not represent Alcoholics Anonymous. I do not represent the Ruiz family. We'll be talking about the 4 agreements, right? And the transformational teachings by Dr. Sonja of P3 University. So every day, right, for a couple of years now, I've been sharing in the beginning the process of the 12 steps from my perspective. And even with COVID, I started doing the morning meditation and focus on the daily reflections. And in the evening, I would do a follow-up kind of check-in, right? And so even though I had goals of going international, well, when COVID came, it kind of put a damp on that arena. But God said, no, you got a computer, you got a mic, and you need to say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, action, and let me speak through you. And so as a result of these 3 spiritual instruments and tools that I use, I don't represent AA, don't represent the Ruiz brothers, don't even represent Dr. Sonja, as beautiful of a spirit that she has, but I represent the God of my understanding, who I found in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. So we're going to dive in today to the daily reflections, and it's entitled The Key is Willingness. You ready? So put on and open up your spiritual eyes and ears so that we can dissect this baby. Okay, you ready to go? And listen, I need to tell y'all too. Y'all see the mask, right? So there's times I'll keep it on, and there's times I'll snatch it off. I'll take out these dentures. I'll wipe off the makeup and all that, right? So today, like yesterday, I'm just going to represent my heritage, represent my royalty, because I'm not trying to dress up for you. Okay, not even for me, but I know the value of taking off the mask, taking off the physical mask. And when we learn to do that, we can be transparent and authentic. That's why I want you to join me on March the 23rd. All right, so let's get into the reading today. See how cuckoo for Cocoa Pops I am? Yeah, these are my dollar glasses. Look, I ain't paying all that money for no glasses because I keep breaking them, losing them, stepping on them. All right, so let's go to the reading today. You ready? All right, let me move this. All right, so March the 7th, daily reflections. The key is willingness, all right? And our co-founders extracted a quote from the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions book on page 35, and it states, once we have placed the key of willingness in the lock and have the door ever so slightly open, we find that we can always open it some more. The person in recovery writes, right? Let me do this, right? He says, the willingness to give up my pride and self-will to a power greater than myself has proved to be the only ingredient absolutely necessary to solve all of my problems today. Even the smallest amount of willingness, if sincere, is sufficient to allow God to enter and take control over any problem, pain, or obsession. My level of comfort is in direct relation to the degree of willingness I possess at any given moment to give up my self-will and allow God's will to be manifested in my life. With the key of willingness, my worries and fears are powerfully transformed into serenity. Oh boy. Yeah, listen. Oh my goodness. Okay, wait, y'all. Listen. Y'all just gotta be patient with me because I get so excited about being here with y'all. I've been forgetting me doing certain things, right? And so let's dive into this, right? And so the topic is the key to willingness, right? So all of us know what a key is, right? Okay. A key opens things, a key locks things, right? So you can enter. When you go out, you lock it back with a key, something that you put in, pull out, right turn, okay? Key. And now here in this spiritual program, we're talking about the key is willingness. The key to unlock that devastating obsession and compulsion that we as alcoholics, right, experienced one day at a time, right, through a progression that happened years before we even picked up a drink or a drug, because our attitudes, ideas, and behaviors and belief system was formulated back then. Even the Ruiz brothers said it was a form and is a form of domestication, right? And so even before we even realized it, right, we were willing back then, even as a child, to disobey mama, to disobey daddy. Don't tell me you don't know nothing about willingness, right? You were willing to get off the steps when mama told you to stay on the steps, right? You were willing to skip school when you're supposed to be in school. You was willing to see that little boyfriend, that little girlfriend, right? You know what willingness is, because your willingness, my willingness, was driven by self-will, right? So the key to willingness, similar to in our past, to these spiritual principles, right? The key is willingness, right? So you got that? All right. So now I found some other glasses, right? All right, let's see. Wait, do you say no better? Wait a minute, y'all. All right. So let's go back to the reading today, where he says, okay, let's put it up here, okay? He says, once we have placed the key of willingness in the lock and have the door ever so slightly open, let's stop there because y'all know I dissect these words. It says, once we have placed, see, before you can understand what this is saying, it says once we have placed. So that means we had to come to a point in our lives, right? And I'm going to say through that knee bowing experience, right? So once we have that knee bowing experience, right? And like me, God placed me on the road to recovery, right? And so once we placed, right, the key of willingness in the lock to a new way of life, to a new direction, to a new purpose, to a new destiny that was not designed as we thought the destiny and purpose when we was all high and all messed up. No, that was not our destiny. That was not our purpose. That was confusion. That was the enemy. That was the adversity, right? That was death. And so here in this new thing called recovery, free, free from the obsession and compulsion, right? And so just like in our addiction, we were willing to go to any length to get what we wanted. Well, the same applies to recovery, right? And so it says here, right? Once we place, right, the key of willingness in the lock and have opened the door ever so slightly, right, we find that we can always open it some more. All right. So, let's dissect this. All right. So for me, because I have to share my perspective and respect the person who shared too. And you can come up with your own. So when God did not take me out and place me on this road to recovery that I didn't know anything about. But I knew where I did not want to go back to. I was not willing to go back. So there's willingness right there. I was not willing to go back underneath that parked car. Hell no. Right? And so now this willingness that God has given me another opportunity, and he has given me the key to recovery, right? And there are many doors in recovery, but he gave me the main key. The main key was, right, my willingness. The honesty and open-mindedness in a certain respect came different at a different time. But let me kind of, let me rewind that. See, underneath that parked car, I was totally honest. Yes, I was. I was totally honest. I can't do this by myself. I can't go through this vicious cycle one more second. That was being true to myself. Edwina, you can admit it. You can, you're done. And so that level of honesty, right? That intensity of honesty, right? Right? And then came the open-mindedness, right? Whoever they say you are. I no longer want to be closed-minded and think you're this and that. Whoever they say you are. That's where the open-mindedness came in. Take me out this life or show me a better way. And then the willingness that I had because he chose me, right, on this new pathway to recovery. So once I was given the key of willingness to different doors, to a different pathway, to a God-given destiny, a God-given purpose, and when I placed that key in that lock, yes, I like any other person, there was some hesitation, there was some fear, there was some what, but when I look back, oh hell no, I ain't going back there. So let me open this door a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. You get my drift? All right, so, whoo, Lord, I tell you. So it says here, the person in recovery, he says, the willingness to give up my pride and self-will to a power greater than myself has proved to be the only ingredient absolutely necessary to solve all of my problems today. All right, that's a long sentence, but we're going to dissect this sucker, all right? The willingness to give up my self-pride and self-will. The willingness to give up my self-pride, my pride, and my self-will. The willingness to give it up. Huh? Many of us, no, our decision was not to voluntarily give it up. It was because of those devastating situations. We had no choice. We had no pride. We had no self-will. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Underneath a parked car? What kind of pride did I have? What kind of self-will did I have? Right? My mama prayed for me, but she and like other human beings could not do for me what my God could do for me, but I didn't know it. So my self-pride, my pride and my self-will were depleted underneath that parked car. And so whoever they say you are became a power greater than me. Didn't I know it? Didn't understand it? No, but listen. a power greater than me. Yes. So this guy had the same experience, right? All right, Arena, let's go. Yeah, you get so emotional, right? So then he says, right? So to give up my self-will and my pride to a power greater than myself has proved to be the only ingredient absolutely necessary to solve all of my problems, right? Has proved to be the only ingredient. Has proved. Are you a researcher? Are you an analyst? What? Are you a scientific person who, right? So to him, it has proved, giving up his pride and his self-will to a power greater than him has proved to be the only absolutely ingredient. You hear that? The only ingredient. Only is a big word. Nothing else. No. Only. Right? The only ingredient. Right? And it says here, the only ingredient, right? Absolutely necessary to solve all of my problems today. Did you hear that? So when we hear in another fellowship, give us this day our daily bread, what do you think that means, right? So we wake up in the morning, and most of us take for granted, like I used to, but not now. Not now. Because of these 12 spiritual principles, the 5 agreements by the Ruiz family, and the transformational teachings by Dr. Sonja. Oh, no, I don't take nothing for granted, not even my breathing, because I know it can be snatched away just like that. Okay? And so when we wake up and we recognize that we are alive, we were chosen for this day, that life is going to deal us some cards, honey. And you don't know what's underneath those cards. But guess what? In the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, through those 12 spiritual principles, we learned who the dealer really is. And so when it says, give us this day our daily bread. So whatever life deal us, if we apply the spiritual principles, and Donald Lawrence, a song that says we are spiritual beings encased in this body, walking on this journey called earth, right? And it's called life, right? So the only absolute ingredient necessary, right, to help me with all of my problems, not some, all of my problems. And he feels the same way. I'm telling y'all, when y'all get engrossed in this spiritual journey, when you embrace, analyze, dissect, right, conduct surgery on, right, evaluate, assess those 12 spiritual principles that are spiritual in nature, that will create a spiritual transformation, right? You will have a spiritual awakening, going through some spiritual experiences. Why? To achieve a psychic change of our attitudes, ideas, behaviors, and belief system, right? That were formulated back in our childhood, and the Ruiz family call it domestication. So my self-will and my pride, where did it get me? Underneath that car. And so whatever problems I had then, I got the same issues today, but I'm not drinking behind them. I'm not drugging behind them. I'm not prostituting behind them. Why? I turned my will and my life over, right, to a power greater than me to deal with all my problems. Now, that took a process. You know, some of us said, look, you can have this, but I'll take care of this. No, you can have it. Guess what? All. And we're not talking about the detergent. All right, so let's see. I ain't got but a couple more minutes. All right, so he goes on to say, right? Even the smallest amount of willingness, if sincere, is sufficient to allow God to enter and take control over any problem, pain, or obsession. Underneath that parked car, when I cried out to this God that I didn't know, I heard about, no, I can't tell you, I can't explain to you what that feeling was like. And so he says, even the smallest amount of willingness, if sincere, do you know that our Creator knows when we're ready, and He knows when we're bullshit, when we BSing? Don't I'm telling you, He knows. He knows when His child is ready. And so when the spiritual student appears through most times humiliation, degrading situations, degrading situations, right? Underneath that parkour, how humiliating can that be? But it brought about some humility. Even the smallest that says, help me, okay? And so if sincere, so God knew I was sincere, and as this gentleman says as well. He says he asked to allow God to enter and take control over any problem, pain, or obsession. And so when we go to our AA meetings, right, we have other people who are going through the same thing, right, of having to put down this alcohol and drugs and this lifestyle and begin to work on our attitudes, ideas, and behaviors, right? It's not easy, right? But if we are determined not to go back, that was work. This is easy. It becomes easier, right? And so when we come to meetings, we hear how people trudge the road to recovery, right? And so pain, obsession, problems, right? Everybody has them. But this time in recovery, we learn to apply spiritual principles to any and all situations, because we know that our dealer, our director is God. Whoever you choose to call him, he doesn't really need a name. But you know it's not you, and you know it's not me. All right, so I ain't got, I'm over, right? So then he says here, my level of comfort is in direct relation to the degree of willingness I possess at any moment to give up my self-will and allow God's will to be manifested in my life. With the key of willingness, my worries and fears are powerfully transformed into serenity. I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to stop right there. I have serenity. I have joy. I have peace. I have acceptance. I'm in love, y'all. I'm in love with my God. I'm in love with my God. I'm in love with this process because it taught me how to love me. Even if I snatch off this wig and take out these dentures and wipe off this makeup, it's not about the messenger. It's about the spiritual message. That's why, listen, you want transparency and authenticity? Join me on March the 23rd. I got to go, y'all. Love you. Oh, if God chooses to wake you up tomorrow and me tomorrow, I'll be here, right? It'll be His choice. But for this day, the key of willingness to make the best out of it, use that key.